Listen, I don't speak about it, not because I'm strong, because if I open that door, I'm not sure I can close it again. I learned how to smile with a mouth that wanted to fall apart. I learned how to nod while something inside me screamed, please, not again. And I became good at it. Too good. There are nights I sit in the dark like a soldier who never came home, still wearing the same invisible armor, still waiting for an enemy that already won. My hands don't shake anymore. My soul does. You see me standing. You think that means I healed? No. It means I trained myself not to collapse in public. It means I swallowed whole storms and called it discipline. I survived things I never talk about, not because they were small, but because they were heavy enough to change my voice. Sometimes I try to tell someone, the words reach my throat and die there like they're ashamed to exist. Like they know I will be judged for bleeding, so I keep it quiet. I carry it like a blade pressed against my ribs, and I walk forward anyway. If you're listening right now, you know this kind of pain, the kind that doesn't ask for attention, the kind that just sits in your chest and slowly teaches you how to breathe wrong. But hear me, slowly, because I can barely say it. You are not weak for being wounded. You are a warrior for still getting up when your mind is begging you to stay down. I don't need you to understand my story. I need you to understand your own. Even if you can't talk about it. Even if you can't explain it. Even if all you can do today is survive quietly, then survive. Hold the line. Not loudly, not proudly, just stubbornly. One more step, one more hour, one more sunrise you didn't think you'd see. And when your voice comes back, when the weight loosens, you'll realize something terrifying and beautiful. They didn't break you. They only taught you what you can endure. That's why you're still here. That's why I'm still here. I don't tell people how close I came, how there were mornings when a sun felt like an insult, how breathing felt like lifting something far too heavy for my chest, how I would stand in front of the mirror and not recognize the eyes staring back at me. They were older, not in years, in damage. There were battles no one sees, no medals, no applause, just a quiet war between your memories and your will to continue. I fought that war in silence. I fought it while answering messages, while laughing at jokes, while telling everyone I'm fine. I became a professional at surviving, but survival is not the same as living. And sometimes that realization cuts deeper than the pain itself. You learn to function with fractures. You learn to carry grief like it's part of your skeleton. You learn that strength isn't loud. It's the decision to get out of bed when your thoughts are whispering, surrender. There were moments I almost let go. Moments where quitting felt peaceful, like finally putting down a weight I was never meant to carry alone. But something inside me, small, stubborn, almost invisible, refused to die. It didn't roar. It barely spoke. It just said, "Not yet." And that was enough. If you're reading this and your chest feels tight and your throat feels heavy and you're tired of pretending, I see you. Not the mask, not the performance. You, the version of you that cries quietly, the version that questions their worth, the version that survived something that changed them forever. You are not dramatic. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not weak for struggling in the dark. You are human, and you are still here. Do you understand what that means? After everything, after betrayal, after loss, after nights that felt endless, you are still breathing. That is not an accident. That is resilience, forged in fire. I survived things I never talk about, and maybe I always will. Maybe some stories stay buried, not because they don't matter, but because they are sacred. But I refuse to let them define the end of me. They shaped me. They scarred me. They hardened parts of me I wish stayed soft. Yet they also revealed something unbreakable. Pain introduced me to my endurance. Loneliness introduced me to my depth. Silence introduced me to my strength. So if you cannot speak today, if your voice trembles, if your story feels too heavy to share, hold on anyway. You don't need to explain your survival. You don't owe anyone the details of your scars. Just keep going, quietly, stubbornly, with whatever strength you have left. Because one day you will look back at this version of yourself, the exhausted, silent warrior, and you will whisper, "You made it," and that will be enough. There is a strange kind of loneliness that comes with surviving, not the loneliness of being alone in a room, but the loneliness of carrying memories no one else can feel. You can describe them, you can hint at them, but no one will ever truly stand inside the moment you endured. And maybe that's why we grow quiet, because explaining it feels impossible, because putting it into words makes it real again, because every syllable tastes like dust and old wounds. So we swallow it. We become quieter, more observant, less reactive. People call us calm, They don't realize calm can be exhaustion in disguise. There were days I functioned on nothing but will, no motivation, no hope, just discipline, just a decision. I will not fall today. That's what a warrior looks like when the war is internal, not loud, not dramatic, just relentless. You don't see the nights I sat awake, replaying everything. You don't see the weight pressing against my chest at 3 a.m. You don't see the way I clenched my jaw to stop myself from breaking. But I survived it, and so did you. Maybe you survived a betrayal that rewired your trust. Maybe you survived words that still echo in your mind. Maybe you survived a version of yourself you barely recognize anymore. Survival changes you. It strips away illusions. It removes the softness that once trusted too easily. It replaces innocence with awareness, and awareness is heavy. But listen to me carefully. Heavy does not mean destroyed. Scarred does not mean ruined. Silent does not mean empty. Some of the strongest people you will ever meet are the ones who learn to suffer without announcing it. And if that is you, if you are carrying something quietly, if you are walking forward with unseen bruises, I respect you. There is a version of me that nobody met, a quieter one, a heavier one, the one who learned how to sit with pain without making a sound. I remember nights when the world felt distant, like I was watching life through thick glass. I could see people moving, laughing, loving, but I couldn't feel any of it. It was as if something inside me had gone numb just to survive the impact, and maybe it had. When you endure enough disappointment, enough betrayal, enough silent battles, your heart doesn't shatter loudly. It fractures quietly. It adapts. It builds walls where windows used to be. I became careful with my emotions, careful with my trust, careful with my hope. Hope is dangerous when you've been let down too many times. There were days I walked through crowds and felt completely invisible, not because people didn't see me, but because they didn't see what I was carrying, the weight of unspoken memories, the echo of words that never left my mouth, the questions that still don't have answers. Why did it happen? Why did I have to be that strong? Why did no one notice? But strength is strange. It doesn't ask for permission. It grows in places where comfort once lived. I didn't wake up one morning fearless. I woke up tired of breaking. That is different. Tired of replaying scenes in my head. Tired of pretending the past didn't sting. Tired of acting untouched. So I made a decision. Not a loud one, not a dramatic one, a quiet decision to endure, to carry my scars without letting them dictate my direction, to accept that some wounds don't disappear, they simply become part of your story. And maybe that's what a warrior truly is. Not someone who never feels pain, but someone who feels it deeply and still chooses to move forward. You don't have to roar to be strong. Sometimes strength sounds like silence. Sometimes courage looks like getting up when nobody is watching. If you are walking through something you never speak about, if your battles are invisible, if your voice feels too heavy to rise, know this: your survival matters. Even if no one applauds it, even if no one understands it, even if the only proof of your resilience is the fact that you are still breathing. I survived things I never talk about, and maybe I always will. But those silent chapters did not end me. They carved depth into my character. They taught me patience. They taught me awareness. They taught me that pain can shape you without destroying you. And you are still standing too. Maybe shaking, maybe exhausted, maybe unsure of what tomorrow holds, but standing. And sometimes that is the bravest thing a person can do. And even now, there are things I still cannot say out loud. There are memories that sit behind my ribs like locked rooms, and every time I walk past them, I feel the temperature change. I feel my breath shorten. I feel the old weight return to my shoulders. You think time erases pain. It doesn't. It teaches you how to carry it without dropping it in front of others. I became quieter, not because I had nothing to say, but because explaining it would require reopening wounds that took everything in me just to close. I lost parts of myself back then. Softness, trust, a careless laughter that didn't scan the room for danger. And in their place, I built discipline, control, silence. Silence became my shield. Because when you stop talking about what hurt you, people assume it no longer hurts. But it does. Some nights I lie awake and replay the moments that reshaped me, the words that cut deeper than blades, the exits that slammed louder than thunder, the look in someone's eyes when they decided I was disposable. You don't forget that. You just learn to function with it. You learn to walk into rooms where no one knows the version of you that almost didn't make it. And you stand there, steady, unshaken on the outside, while your past watches quietly from the corner. I survived things I never talk about. I survived the kind of loneliness that echoes even in crowded places, the kind that makes you question whether you were ever truly seen. I survived the nights where the ceiling felt closer than the sky, where hope felt like a rumor, where continuing felt pointless. And yet, I continued. Not because I was fearless, but because giving up would mean letting the pain have the final word. And I refused that. Listen to me carefully. If you are carrying something heavy, something you don't dare describe, something that shaped you in silence, your survival is not small. The fact that you still show up, still breathe, still try, even with trembling hands, that is courage. You may feel changed. You may feel harder. You may feel distant from who you used to be. But that does not mean you are lost. It means you endured. There's a quiet power in endurance. A power that doesn't scream. A power that doesn't demand recognition. It simply persists. And persistence is rebellion against everything that tried to erase you. I am not proud of my pain. I do not romanticize it. If I could erase parts of it, I would. But I cannot deny what it revealed. It revealed that I can stand alone without collapsing. It revealed that I can rebuild even when the blueprint is gone. It revealed that even when my voice breaks, my will does not. So, if your words feel stuck in your throat, if your story feels too fragile to share, if your heart feels heavier than your body, stay. Stay for one more breath, one more sunrise, one more quiet victory no one sees. Because surviving in silence is still surviving. And one day, when the weight feels lighter, when the past loosens its grip, you will understand something powerful. You were never weak. You were wounded. And you healed in ways no one applauded. That is what makes you a warrior, not the battles you speak about, but the ones you endured without a witness. Without a witness, without applause, without someone standing beside you saying, I saw what you went through. You learn to become your own witness. You learn to sit with your own pain and not look away. That might be the hardest part, because when no one validates the depth of what you survived, a quiet doubt begins to grow. It whispers, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe you're exaggerating. Maybe you should have handled it better. But you know the truth. You know how your hands trembled when no one was watching. You know how your chest felt like it was collapsing inward. You know how many times you had to rebuild yourself from nothing but stubborn will. Pain has a strange way of isolating you It convinces you that you're the only one who has ever felt this kind of weight, that your suffering is unique, too complicated, too dark to be understood. And so you stay quiet, you shrink your story, you minimize it, you say, it's fine, you say, it's in the past, you say, other people have it worse. But comparison doesn't erase wounds. Silence doesn't heal by itself. It only hides the bleeding. I carried mine like a hidden fracture. Every step hurt, but I walked normally. Every breath felt heavy, but I spoke steadily. Every memory burned, but I smiled. That's what warriors do, right? They endure. But here's what no one tells you about endurance. It's exhausting. It drains you in ways you can't explain. It makes you feel older than you are. It makes joy feel distant, like something meant for other people. There were days I wondered if this was just who I had become. The quiet one, the distant one, the one who keeps everything locked behind her eyes. But deep down, beneath the armor, beneath the discipline, beneath the silence, there was still a pulse, still a desire, still a small voice saying, you deserve more than survival. And that voice, even when faint, was enough to keep me moving, not fast, not gracefully, but forward. You don't need to be loud to be strong. You don't need to explain yourself to justify your scars. You don't need to relive your worst moments to prove that they mattered. Your survival is proof. The fact that you're still here, still trying, still breathing through memories that tried to drown you, that is strength in its rawest form. And maybe one day you'll speak about it. Maybe you won't. Maybe your story will remain yours alone. But whether spoken or silent, it shaped you, not into something fragile, not into something broken beyond repair, into something deeper, into someone who understands pain without needing to advertise it, into someone who knows how to endure storms without losing their footing, into someone who carries invisible scars with quiet dignity. I survived things I never talk about, and maybe I always will. But I also survived, and that changes everything. There is something strange about surviving. At first it feels like victory, like you crossed a battlefield and somehow made it out alive. But later, when the noise fades, when the chaos settles, you're left alone with the aftermath. And that's when it gets quiet. Too quiet. You start noticing the parts of you that didn't come back the same. The way you hesitate before trusting. The way you brace yourself when things feel too calm. The way peace is just a pause before another storm. No one prepares you for that part. They celebrate survival. They don't talk about the rebuilding. Rebuilding is lonely. It's sitting with yourself and admitting, yes, that hurt me. It's accepting that you changed. It's grieving the version of you that existed before the damage. I grieved that version quietly. The one who believed easily. The one who loved without caution. The one who didn't scan every situation for hidden danger. He feels distant now, but I don't hate who I became, because this version, the quiet, heavier, watchful one, knows things the old version didn't. He knows his limits. He knows his depth. He knows that even when everything inside collapses, he can still stand. And maybe that's what strength really is. Not invulnerability, not pretending nothing affected you, but carrying the marks of what did and choosing to continue anyway. If you're still here, reading this with a tight chest and memories you rarely visit, I need you to understand something. Your silence does not erase your resilience. Just because you don't tell the story doesn't mean it wasn't heroic. Some of the strongest people in the world are the ones who never explain what almost destroyed them. They simply wake up. They simply work. They simply breathe. They simply endure quietly. And maybe that's enough for now. You don't have to be fully healed. You don't have to be whole. You don't have to feel strong every day. You just have to refuse to disappear. Even if your voice shakes, even if your steps are slow, even if some nights feel heavier than others, refuse to disappear. Because the fact that you survived things you never talk about means there is something inside you that refuses to surrender. Protect that. Nurture that. Trust that. One day, the weight will not feel as sharp. One day, the memories will lose their edge. One day, you will speak, or maybe you won't. But either way, you will stand taller